So let's talk into spoilers for Terrifier. Now, this is a movie, like I said, I just reviewed, and going into these spoilers, I feel like I had to talk about the spoilers in this movie because they were just so incredible in a way. It's just basically I'm just going to talk about all the things I really, really loved, but spoilers about it instead of the actual review, which I just did. I loved how the opening was the shot of this little TV like this size, and it just zoomed in on it, and it was staticking out whenever it showed this woman who was deformed, and she survived Art the Clown's massacre. And they even say that straight up at the beginning of the movie that she survives it. But I love the fact that it statics her out whenever it shows her, and then even when it shows her face, which is a good build-up, by the way, it shows her face and it is deformed as can be. And she goes in and attacks this newswoman who was the one who interviewed her. And the newswoman, who is a normal-looking woman, says, like, on the phone to somebody else, "Man, you better put me out of my misery if I ever look like a person like her," like the deformed person she just interviewed. And then the deformed woman comes in and literally mauls and rips her face off. Like, rips her face up and messes her up to the same point as she is. And I thought that was a fantastic opening. But honestly, I was a little confused because I was like, what is this supposed to be? But then, of course, I knew it would go full circle at the end, and it did, of course, but that opening was awesome. That was a really cool opening, and I didn't expect that. Just this deformed character mauling a normal-looking woman and then just making her face mold into, like, what she looked like, the deformed woman looked like. And it says that Art the Clown is dead, and she saw it. And I love the fact that, kind of just fast forwarding now, I love the fact that it follows between these two girls, Tara and Dawn. And whenever they start to realize that, like the opening scene at the restaurant where, like, Tara and Dawn are sitting there, and Art the Clown is just sitting there making a blank, evil-looking face or just smiling at them is perfect, because every time he does it, it gets creepier because he either smiles really big or he just stares like he is going to murder them straight up right there. And that is a great opening scene with Art. And he keeps stalking them throughout the movie, and I love the fact that every time you don't expect him to be there, he just pops up. And like I said in my spoiler-free video, it reminded me of how the original Halloween did it, where Michael Myers was a kind of force of like a spiritual force, or like he would just appear. You didn't see him move around, he just was there. And they do that in this, but in a way where I felt like it was very much like a love letter to that. Like, it works incredibly well in this too, how Art the Clown will just pop up, making a demonic face. Like, for example, whenever Dawn's in the car, the door opens and she's like, "Oh, you're back," and then she looks over and Art the Clown is right there. I thought that was perfectly timed and perfectly scary. Or moments where, like, a character would turn around and then Art would just be there, standing there right next to them, just smiling evilly. Like, it's timed perfect with this clown, and how he looks and how whenever he pops up, is great. And getting towards the end, like I said, the moment where Dawn is, like, Tara finds Dawn tied up, upside down, naked, and then Art the Clown, and you see this in full detail, which is one of the most nastiest violent kills I've ever seen, but he literally, like, gets a little saw blade and cuts Dawn from the crotch all the way down to her head, like literally saws her down, and it is one of the most brutal looking things I've ever seen. And I was just sitting there like, that's the moment where, in my other review, I was like, there are moments where I was shocked, and I was like, I just sat there with my mouth open like, oh my god, this is insane. This is completely and utterly insane, but it works in how brutal and creepy it is. And I love the fact that towards the end, after this scene, when Tara's running around, there's this other woman who lives in that area, like this crazy cat lady who's got a baby, which is a baby doll. And I love the fact that Art takes the baby doll and the woman's like, no, my baby, give it back. And that's actually a funny scene because it's creepy because the clown is disturbingly creepy, but it's hilarious because this woman is mentally messed up and she says like, I want my baby back, and it's not a real baby, it's just a baby doll. And then Art just is taking it. And of course he gets her. But I love the fact that that adds up to the fact that this happened after Tara gets shot down and murdered, and I love the fact that this movie never gives any clue to who the final girl is, because the girl at the beginning of the movie, who's deformed, you don't know who it is, because she's deformed, you can't tell the facial difference, and Tara and her sister, I think, are both brown-haired, like the girl at the beginning is. So you don't realize who it is, and then whenever Tara dies, I'm like, well, who is it then? And then her sister pops in, and it's her, and I knew it would be her sister after that, but I love that. And I love the fact that this is utterly disturbing and just bizarre, but whenever the sister comes in and she finds Tara dead, and then she finds the cat lady is still alive, but Art the Clown literally cut off her breasts, literally cut them off, and she is sitting there, the woman just sitting there crying with no breasts, just bloody everywhere, and then Art the Clown, like, she thinks it's her sister on the ground with the, and it's just Art the Clown that pops up with the wig on, or with the hair on, and then literally puts on the cat lady's boobs, like they are just sitting on his chest. And he walks seductively towards her, and it makes it even more creepier, because that's just insane that this mentally deranged character goes through this much shit and scares the shit out of everybody. And like, I liked how whenever it ends, it's like she gets mauled, the sister, but then Art shoots himself in the head, which I don't get. Like, is he a supernatural being because he shoots himself in the head, like you see it, and then he just is alive at the end? Like, I didn't get that. But I mean, maybe a rewatch, I might look right whenever he shoots himself. Maybe it's just like an act. Like, maybe he purposefully has something in his mouth that makes imply blood like fly out of his mouth or something. So maybe it's just an act, but it looks like he does straight up. But I love the fact that they go to the coroner's place, and Art wakes up, of course, and he gets out. But then we get the shot of the sister Victoria at the end, where it's a shot behind her in a wheelchair, and then these people are like, oh, like 1 year later, they're like, oh, you can get out, you're fine, like you're finally able to leave. And then it turns around and it's Victoria with the deformed face from the opening, and that was a great way to go full circle. So these moments in this movie just blew me away in how incredibly brutal they are, incredibly scary they are. The scary moments are incredibly scary. They always do a great job with this clown, having him appear when you just don't expect, or having him do one-up himself and how brutal and disturbing he is, like sawing a woman in half, and then literally the next thing he does is cut off a pair of woman's breasts and wear them, and wear the wig of Victoria's sister and chase after her like that. That just is so disturbing, and that's what makes this movie so works so well, because it blew me away in how strong and brutal it was, and how scary it was, legitimately scary. Like, I actually did think in a lot of moments I was creeped the fuck out, because I was like, oh my god, this just is insane. So overall, I really am glad I talked about the spoilers for this, because those moments I couldn't say in the spoiler free. I didn't want people to know if they haven't seen it, because it's so good. So good, you guys. This was one of the best clown movies I've ever seen. One of the scariest clowns I've ever seen, truly. And I haven't seen every clown movie like in the world, but I know that this is definitely probably going to be one of the scariest still, even if I watch other ones. So really love this movie. Glad I talked about spoilers. Thanks, guys, for watching.